The rain had been relentless for 3 days straight. Cold, sharp, and unforgiving. It beat against the windows of the small cabin at the edge of town, creating a soft in the background that seemed to seep into the very bones of everything inside. Jason Hart, a man used to silence, felt the weight of the storm more than he expected, not because of the weather, but because of what it symbolized. Before we begin this journey, I want you to think of one question. What happens when life forces you to face things you didn't even know you were capable of? If you're here for stories that touch your heart, that challenge your perception of strength, love, and resilience, subscribe now and stay with us. Because sometimes the most powerful journeys begin when everything seems lost. Now, let's begin. Life had always been a struggle for him. A single father trying to make ends meet, his heart wrapped in the remnants of a love that had long since faded into shadows. But nothing had prepared him for this. He had just come in from the garage, wiping his hands on his worn-out jeans. His daughter, Lily, was curled up in a corner with a drawing pad, lost in her world of colors. The house was quiet, almost too quiet for the storm that raged outside. That was until a knock on the door came. A heavy knock. Jason froze. He didn't expect anyone. The rain made everything feel isolated, cut off from the rest of the world. He opened the door slowly, expecting a neighbor, maybe someone in need of shelter from the storm. But what he saw stopped him in his tracks. 4 teen girls, their clothes soaked through, their faces pale and desperate. I'm sorry to bother you," one of them said, her voice shaky, eyes filled with fear. Our car broke down and can we come in? Please." Jason hesitated, but there was no question in his mind. "Of course," he said, stepping aside. He didn't know why, but something about their eyes, the fear behind them, something in the way they stood on his doorstep, pulled at something deep within him. "Thank you," the girl whispered, and they stepped inside, dripping rainwater onto his old wooden floors. He quickly shut the door behind them, locking out the storm that was beginning to howl louder outside. They were not just any girls. They were teenagers, maybe 16 or 17 at most, but their eyes held a wisdom, a sadness that Jason couldn't place. If you haven't already, now's the time to hit subscribe. This is a journey of unexpected beginnings. You won't want to miss what happens next. The storm begins. The house was too small to fit 4 teenagers comfortably, especially with Lily's toys scattered across the living room floor. But somehow it felt right. They sat in a circle around the fireplace, the room illuminated by the soft orange glow from the burning logs. Jason tried not to stare, tried not to ask too many questions. It was clear that these girls weren't just here for a warm meal and a dry place to sleep. Something more was on the edge of their story, something they weren't ready to share yet. He offered them hot cocoa, the warmth of the mugs contrasting sharply with the damp cold of their clothes. His daughter, Lily, had given up her corner of the couch without hesitation, her small, childish heart filled with kindness. The rain had finally slowed to a steady drip, but the tension in the room had not. Jason could feel it. How their eyes lingered on each other, how they moved like they were trying to hide something. And when they finally spoke, it wasn't about the car breaking down. "We're sorry for showing up like this," the tallest one, Sarah, said, her voice low. "We didn't know where else to go." Jason frowned. Something in her tone and the way her hands fidgeted in her lap told him there was more to the story. "It's all right. You're welcome here. But are you okay? You look like you've been through more than a storm." The girls exchanged uneasy glances. "Maybe we should tell you," the second girl, Katie, spoke up. She had a calmness to her that made Jason feel uneasy, like someone who had seen too much too soon. "But you won't believe it." Jason leaned forward, narrowing his eyes. He was no fool. Something was off, but he couldn't put his finger on it yet. "Try me," he said, his voice steady. For a long moment, there was only the crackling of the fire, the weight of their silence hanging thick in the air. "We're not just runaways," Sarah continued, her voice trembling. We're the daughters of someone who was in hiding." Jason's heart skipped. The way she said, "hiding," sent a shiver down his spine. Hiding from what? The answer came in a hushed whisper. "From a man who wanted her dead." Katie added, "Our mother, she had money. A lot of it. A fortune no one knew about. and she kept it from everyone, even us. We didn't find out until after she was gone. Jason's mind raced. He didn't understand. He couldn't. His quiet world, the one that had always been about fixing things and staying out of trouble, was suddenly unraveling in front of him. He had become a hero, but not in the way he thought. The twist. Jason felt the room close in, his hands clench around the mug, the ceramic cold against his skin. So, your mother was wealthy, and now you're here in my house because... We're not safe anymore, Sarah said, voice breaking. The people after her, they know we're alive. They've been looking for us. Jason's pulse quickened. He couldn't process it all. This wasn't his world, wasn't his problem. But something inside him shifted. He was their only hope. And just like that, he knew he had to protect them. He didn't know why, but his instincts told him this wasn't just a rescue mission. This was something far bigger than him. Something that could change everything. Before he could respond, the sound of a car's headlights flashing through the front window startled him. He looked toward the door. There was someone outside, someone watching them. A figure stepped out of the darkness, their silhouette outlined by the glow of the headlights. Jason's heart pounded in his chest. Who was it? What did they want? He had no time to waste. He needed to act fast. He grabbed his jacket and rushed toward the door. But before he could reach it, a voice cracked through the air, a voice that made his blood run cold. Jason Hart, I need to talk to you. He froze. His name. They knew his name. The door opened slowly. But the figure on the other side wasn't just anyone. It was a man who looked eerily familiar. Jason's eyes widened, and then he heard the words that would change everything. You've been keeping something of mine. Jason stood frozen in the doorway, his pulse hammering in his chest, as the man outside stepped closer into the dim glow of the porch light. He was tall, dark, and wearing a black coat, his expression hidden by the shadows. But it wasn't just a man's presence that sent a chill running down Jason's spine. It was the way the man looked at him, as if he had known him for years. The words from the night before, asterisk. You've been keeping something of mine, asterisk repeated in Jason's mind, echoing louder than the wind howling around the cabin. Jason's hand tightened on the doorframe. What do you want? His voice came out colder than he intended, but the man didn't flinch. I'm not here to hurt you, the man said, his voice low and gravelly. But I am here to get what's mine. Jason's heart raced as he glanced back at the girls in the living room. Their eyes were wide with fear. The silence between them felt unbearable. What did this man mean? He stepped outside, pulling the door shut behind him with a soft click. The storm had calmed, but the tension in the air was heavier than the weight of the snow that clung to the trees. I don't know what you're talking about, Jason said, his voice barely audible over the wind. You got the wrong house. The man didn't answer right away. Instead, he took a step closer, his face now visible in the dim porch light. Jason's breath caught in his throat. The man had the same sharp features, the same dark eyes that Jason recognized immediately. David, Jason whispered, his voice trembling. David Hart, his brother, the one who disappeared 5 years ago, the one who had left Jason with all the questions, the unanswered phone calls, the empty silence that followed his sudden departure. But how could this be David? His brother was supposed to be dead. Jason had seen the report, the crash, the wreckage, the funeral. Yet here he stood, as if nothing had ever happened. I never died, Jason, David said, as though reading his thoughts. I faked my death. I had to. Jason stumbled backward, his mind reeling. Faked his death? Why? What happened to you? Jason managed to ask, his voice strained with disbelief. Where have you been? All this time. David stepped forward, his eyes filled with a mix of anger and regret. I couldn't tell you, Jason. I couldn't tell anyone. But now you need to understand why I did what I did. It's all connected to the girls you're protecting. Jason's mind raced. The girls, they weren't just any teens. They were hiding from something bigger, something dangerous. And somehow his brother, his dead brother, was tied to it. What do you mean? Jason asked, his voice low. What do you want from me? David's expression darkened, and his voice dropped to a whisper. You're not just protecting them. You're protecting their inheritance, Jason. Their mother's inheritance. And the people who want it are coming for them. And for you. Jason's world tilted on its axis. Inheritance? The girl's mother was an heiress? The thought hit him like a ton of bricks. He had always suspected there was more to their story than they were letting on. But this was beyond anything he could have imagined. They're not just runaway girls, Jason. David continued, his voice shaking with emotion. They're part of something much bigger than you or me. Their mother was part of a massive fortune, hidden from everyone. And now, those who want that money are hunting them down. Jason's head spun. But why didn't you tell me this before? Why wait until now? David looked away, his expression pained. Because I couldn't. I've been on the run, trying to stay one step ahead of those who would kill me for the truth. But now I see you become a part of this, whether you wanted to or not. Jason felt the weight of the truth pressing down on him. He didn't know what to believe anymore. His brother was alive, hidden in plain sight for 5 years. The girls were in danger, and he was somehow tied to this twisted web of lies and wealth. And what's worse, he had brought them into his life without even knowing it. You need to leave, David, Jason said firmly, his voice breaking through the chaos in his mind. You need to leave before things get worse. I'm not getting involved in any of this. I'll protect the girls, but not for money. I'm not doing this for anyone's inheritance. David stepped back, his face hardening. You don't have a choice anymore, Jason. You already made it. You've already put yourself in the middle of this, and you've put your daughter in the crosshairs too. Jason's blood ran cold at the mention of Lily's name. His heart raced as he glanced back at the cabin. He couldn't lose her. Not like this. Leave now, Jason ordered again, but David only shook his head. I'm not leaving, Jason, David said quietly. But you are. Jason stared at his brother in disbelief. He had no idea what to do. The storm outside was nothing compared to the storm of questions and confusion inside his own head. The man he thought was dead was alive, and now he was telling him to leave his own home, telling him to give up on the girls he had promised to protect. I'll protect them, Jason said, his voice trembling with determination. I'll protect them all, no matter what. David's face softened, and for a moment, Jason saw the brother he had once known. You have no idea what you're getting into, Jason, he said quietly. But I'll help you if you're really going to protect them. Then you're going to need more than just the cabin to hide them. David turned to walk away, but before he could reach the end of the porch, the faint sound of a car engine broke through the silence. Jason's heart skipped. He turned toward the driveway, and in the dim light, he saw the silhouette of a black SUV slowly creeping toward the cabin. They found us, David said, his voice a low growl. This is just the beginning. Jason's mind raced. Who were these people? Who had found them? As the black SUV neared, Jason's pulse quickened. He wasn't ready. He hadn't planned for this. And then, as the vehicle stopped just outside, Jason saw a figure step out of the back seat. A woman. Her face was hidden, but the silhouette was unmistakable. The woman turned toward him, and Jason felt his stomach drop. He knew that face. He knew those eyes. They were the same eyes he had seen in his dreams, in the photograph that had haunted him for years. And then she spoke. Jason, it's time. What happens next? Who is this mysterious woman, and how is she connected to the girls? Subscribe now and stay tuned to find out how this story unfolds. You won't want to miss what happens next.